Hi and welcome to today's video. I'm super excited to have a special guest with me today. And as we were putting together the content for the 30 Days of Hope way back in, early December, my friend and our pastor Tim was one of the very first people that came to my mind. So I'm excited to introduce to you our friend Tim, who is one of the pastors at C3 Calgary West Church, just in Springbank on the outskirts of Calgary there. And so welcome, Tim. Welcome to our studio, and thanks for coming here with us today. And so just give us a little bit of a sense of who you are and sort of, tell us a bit about you.
My name is Tim Sawatsky. I'm the pastor at C3 Calgary West. I've been married for, I've been married for 25 years, got 3 kids. They're all grown up and graduated. I've been officially on staff for about 7 years, but doing volunteer work forever, and just really enjoying it, having a good time.
One of the things that made me really want to have you on was, and we were talking before we went on to the camera, that one of the roles of a pastor in a community and just sort of in general is to just be a really solid voice and a solid person in all of our lives. And so it was just really important to me for you to come on and share your voice with us, to give us some comfort, especially at this time. And I just wondered if you could share with us a little bit from your place of work and of your ministry. What have you found has been sort of the deepest struggle for people right now, and how have you been supporting people in that foundational role?
That's a really good question. I think the struggle that I've seen people walking through would probably be the same struggle that I see myself walking through, and that is, over this past year, it's like a shaking of everything that could possibly be shaken in a person's life. And it's a really good time to take stock of where you find your life, where you find your source of life, where you find your source of stability, and what you believe matters. It has consequences. And I found over this last year, especially, I noticed it in the first couple of weeks of the shutdown in, I think it was March. People, and we talked about this before, people coming to me and just with different perspectives that they just pulled off of YouTube, off different social media platforms. And it was shaking their confidence, and it was taking away peace. And I find the things that take away peace need to be analyzed. They need to be checked out. You need to think about that and why it is. And this came up for me personally yesterday when I saw what was happening down in Washington, D.C. When I sat down over lunch and sat down and watched YouTube and saw the live, ransacking of, I think it was Capitol Hill. It was quite shocking to me. It was something I hadn't seen or felt since I watched the Twin Towers come down in New York. It was quite poignant for me. And I remember I don't need to ignore stuff. I don't need to ignore the news, but I do need to put it in its proper place. And it is not a source of life to me, it is a source of information. And I need to keep that in mind. So what I did as a pastor, after I saw what was going on in the news, is I went back to work, went back to what I was doing, which was a bit of manual labor in the church, fixing some things. And I put on Spotify, I put on a worship playlist, and I just prayed. I just worshiped God, I prayed, and I reestablished that my source of life comes from my relationship with Jesus. So I just spent time with Him while I was doing work around the church. And there's a verse that I go to. It's in the Bible. It's Micah chapter 6, verse 8, and it says, "Here's what God expects of you: to love justice, to walk with compassion, and to walk humbly with your God." And it is a call to walk humbly with God and to know that what He's saying right now is to bring peace to you, to bring life to you. Here's my source of life and peace, not YouTube, not the news. The verse doesn't say to walk humbly with my social media. I love being informed. I I don't want to be uninformed, but that's not where I get my life from. So when crazy things happen and you lose your peace, that is a beautiful time to realize where you have put your faith and your trust and what the foundation of your life is on. And if it's broken, it's broken. Start again. What's going to give me that solid foundation in my life? For me, I have a relationship with Jesus Christ, and I talk to him every morning. That's where I get my peace from throughout the day.
Thank you for that, Tim. I love that. I love that message of just the stillness and the peace that we find from ourselves and from source of, sitting still with, scripture and getting really quiet. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about that I think we kind of share and have in common is that, you guys in C3 Church West and us here and other communities like us, we really, we rely on people coming into our space, and we're not allowed to do that anymore. And I do think that us not being able to gather really does make us feel disconnected and really does make us feel disjointed from each other. And like you said, the things that give us peace and hope. So how has that been for you guys? Like, how are you finding that you're able to care for your people in this time where we can't be together?
Yeah, that was crazy, unbelievably challenging when we first, when this all came down. First it was not meeting at all, and now it's, we're meeting at 15% fire regulation capacity. And we had to approach it with faith, trusting that this did not surprise God, that he did have answers for this. And so, oftentimes we use that phrase, what's the opportunity here? It's not a problem, it's an opportunity. It's okay, all right, okay. Sometimes I found that hokey as a hokey response, but it's actually very true. What is the opportunity here? So I went from being pastoral care, who does coffees all week long with people, to being, I love it, it's the best, to being online pastor. So we found that God was actually doing a lot of things online. So I've had a number of online live conversations on Instagram. I'm going to do one today for the first time on YouTube with a friend of mine. And we just find that there's this dynamic that happens where we're talking about something and then, maybe we planned on talking about one thing, but it goes into something else. And we find that by the time it's done, people have tuned in, there's chats happening, and we feel like there was actual life happening in this conversation, like the Holy Spirit spoke through something. And this is the important thing, people can still gather, not always in the way that we thought they could. It can be online, it can be, some random walk or a text. I've texted people or had phone calls. I called somebody this morning. There was someone that passed away that I knew and that I knew other people were close with, so I called them to comfort them and just to inform them, which is it's a terrible job to have. It's painful. But after I shared the bad news with this person, started talking about where each of us were at, and they actually had this amazing, encouraging word for me that I did not expect. And God is still at work. I think that's the bottom line. God is still at work. God is not handcuffed by what is happening. He is not tame. He is as free as he ever was, and he's as free to dispense life and encouragement through different means than we could have before, but it's still coming through. We just have to keep our eyes open for it.
So that's a nice segue into my next question that I have for you is, and you've already kind of touched on this, so and we have found this too, that there's so many opportunities and there's so many things that have happened that we couldn't even have imagined with our minds. We couldn't even have dreamt them. And so my question to you is, how have you seen God working in surprising ways? It's just like mind-blowing.
That is an awesome question. The first story that comes to my mind came when I was talking with someone a few weeks ago who is part of a Narcotics Anonymous group. And there was someone in the group that told their story. And this person's not a Christian, they're not a believer, but they were going, they're struggling. I think they had their 1 year anniversary of being narcotic free. And they went up to Edmonton to help someone that was struggling and that needed someone to support them. But this person knew that they were not in a place to do that yet, to support this person the way they needed it. They weren't strong enough yet. But they went up anyway. They knew they could potentially fall back into drug use. They actually went as far as to buy some drugs, rig themselves up, get ready to inject, and they couldn't find a vein. And this person had been doing drugs for over a decade. And they couldn't find a vein. And this person actually told my friend, he's like, I know God stopped that. God actually kept, he said he's a pro at finding veins to inject. And he said he couldn't find it that day. And he believes that it was actually God protecting him from falling back into drug use. And it sounds so random and weird, but when my friend told me that, I started tearing up, and I was having a bit of a rough day. And you know what? God just said to me at that point, he's like, that was me. And you needed to hear that, Tim, because I work in so many different ways. And even just that, you know, when it's dry out, when you're in a desert, you know, and you come across a puddle on the ground, you'll drink from it because it's life. That's where you find life. And you know what? I found life in that conversation when he told me that. So I found God at work through my friend telling me this, through it happening to that guy. And I just God just said, no, I'm powerful. I'm not limited. And I can be anywhere and do anything. That was big.
Wow, that is a really powerful story. And if you guys have any stories that, you know, where you've seen something shift or change or something miraculous that's happened to you, we would love to hear that. So you can put that in the comments or reach out to us. Tim, the final question that I have for you is, it's a really big question, but it's also maybe a smaller question too, something more subtle, is what gives you hope? What gives you hope right now?
Man, what gives me hope right now? I think for me, hope is a matter of, firstly, I think it's my responsibility to have hope as a pastor, as a father, as a friend. And I think it's on each of us to make sure that we manage ourselves to have hope. I have hope by managing my relationship with Christ. And like I've kind of said throughout this conversation, it matters a lot where I place my eyes, what I pay attention to. That is what affects my emotions. It's what gives me strength or takes it away. And so for me, I spend time, I'm not going to say I do it perfectly every morning, but I do spend time privately talking with Christ. Sometimes I'm wrestling with stuff that is like a monkey on my back, stuff that I'm wrestling with, and I take it to Christ. Sometimes I don't always get the answer I'm looking for, but I always go back to Christ first as the one that I love the most, as the one that I know loves me the most. And that I know that if I have a good time with him, I can handle almost anything else in the day after that. In fact, I know I can handle anything else in the day that comes at me after that. And I know that I have to have that reserve, that margin in my life, because you don't know when something's going to pop up. You don't know when someone's going to call up with bad news, a death in the family. Someone's going to need life that is just falling apart, and you need to be ready and have something in you, some hope to give them, some word of encouragement. And if you're not topped up, you don't know how to top up your gas tank with energy and love and hope, you'll have nothing to give. And I want to be that friend, that father, that husband that can do that, and pastor.
Okay, thanks, Pastor Tim, for that awesome response. We're switching roles here a little bit because, I don't know, I guess I said something that really made some sense. But I am just going to tag on to what Pastor Tim just said there, that whatever your foundation is that whether it's Christ, whether it's yoga, whether it's family, whether it's, I don't know, I had like a Vin Diesel thing where he was like, yeah, family, Fast and Furious. But whatever your foundation is, you need to strengthen that foundation so that, like Pastor Tim said, you can give from that foundation. So that's my encouragement, and Jody and I encouragement for you from Alchemy Yoga's perspective is that strengthen your foundation so that you can give in this time, this really sensitive time, and you can work from that spot. So thanks, Pastor Tim. I'll wrap up the video at the same time here. Thank you, Pastor Tim, for coming in. He's just been a really, really solid dude in our life. And again, I encourage you to find those people in your life too that you can tell those sensitive things to, or when you don't know where else to turn, that you do have that person that has built a solid foundation and he has lots to give us. So thank you very much. Where can we quickly find you?
On Instagram, I'm at Tim Sawatsky. I am going to be doing more on YouTube, which I think is also Tim Sawatsky, is my channel's name. Facebook, just find me, Tim Sawatsky. You guys are rock stars. I love what you're doing here. I love the fact that you're in the community, you're talking to people I may never cross paths with. And I just know that God is just doing something within your lives and within your business. And I just bless the people that are coming out to this place. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for a chance to talk with you.